Good morning, good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? You are looking at a man who last night had his ass thoroughly kicked by jet lag. Yeah, got loads and loads and loads of sleep day before yesterday. Last night went to bed by, about 11 o'clock. 5 o'clock this morning, still looking at the ceiling. Not great. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Peter McKenna, he's watching from Instagram this morning for reasons best known to himself, but good morning, Peter. I'm going to say good morning to Dan Cullen, who was here bright and early, 8:45. I think Gary Muirhead is here as well. I'm sure I saw him flashing through. Well, not flashing, obviously, not in the truest sense, but Gary, good morning, chappies. Good morning. That's not Gary. That's Gary. Good morning, guys. How is everyone doing today? Tired. Tired, yeah. I'm at the point now. I mean, I can see there's a clock in front of me. It's 2 minutes past 10, but my body is telling me it's the middle of the bloody night or something. I'm still on Vegas time, and my head is somewhere else. We'll soldier on. Morning, Jim Turner, who just said morning, peeps. Morning, Jim. How are you, my friend? Good to have you here. Make allowances for me today, would you? Because yeah, this is going to be all over the shop. I honestly don't know what day of the week it is. We've got somebody else here as well. Good morning, fellow navigators, says Chris Ford, and with some timely advice, keep your hole clean. Okay, then. Toby Comley's just joined us over on Instagram. Morning, Toby. Haven't seen you for a while, but good to have you here. Tired of this house bashing, Gary, and only a week into it. Ah, yes, Danny's on house building. Yeah. Dan, I'll leave you to tell people just how much fun you're having when you get a moment. We've got another packed show for you today. Final show of the week, as you are probably well aware by now. By the time I should be here tomorrow, I will actually be on a plane on my way to wonderful, wonderful Verona. One of my favorite places in the world, actually. Love Italy, but love Verona even more. It is a fantastic place, and I'll be telling you why in the fullness of time. We will also be coming back with some goodies next week. I'll be back on Monday morning, all things being equal, with all the stuff that I gathered over in Las Vegas. We'll be giving that away. So look out for that. We've got what have we got? We've got t-shirts, some hats, some stuff. Yeah, you'll see. Apparently Peter says that LinkedIn is playing stupid games. LinkedIn is the least reliable. We broadcast this show to YouTube, to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to Instagram, and to Twitch. And the one that lets us down the most is always LinkedIn, for reasons that I don't fully understand. I'm sure it's not anything I'm doing, but it is apparently the case. Dan says I'm one of 50 men here, and only five English, mostly Romanian and Albanian. The food should be good then. Gary says jet lag is a nightmare. We were the same when we came back from Florida. Yeah, I shouldn't have fallen for it. I was lulled into a full sense of security yesterday. I went to bed on Monday night at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I woke up in time to do the show. So I had the best part of 12 hours sleep. Woke up feeling a little under the weather, but I thought, well, I'm back on. I've got my equilibrium back. I'm back on the level, and I'll be good to go from here. Yesterday afternoon, I felt fine. Went to bed, and it all went pear-shaped. Oh, now, quick update. This is Gary. I believe you're being spoiled. Homemade pork pie in the lunchbox today. You can't argue with a homemade pork pie. You can't argue with a pork pie at all. But a homemade pork pie, one of life's great pleasures. Having said that, tomorrow I'll be heading to the land of pizza and pasta and risotto and espresso and gelato and other things ending in O. I'm a man of many languages, as you all know. Peter talking about Dan's co-workers, the Romanians and Albanians. At least they will be grafters. Yes, they most certainly will. There's no flies on our Eastern European friends when it comes to hard work. Anyway, people, as I say, I've already got a packed show for you to get through. It's all based around ConExpo because it is still fresh in the memory. So, without further ado, let me roll the intro and get this show underway, shall we? And funnily enough, just as I was talking about LinkedIn, I think the connection may have just died entirely. So while you're watching what's about to happen, I'll try and fix that and see if we can get it back on again. I have no idea if that will work or has worked, but I've just tried to rebroadcast over to LinkedIn. Peter says, bloody hell, we're getting back, and he fucks off again. Yeah, it's weird how these things come about. I don't like it when it happens, I have to say, because most of my clothes are still in a suitcase. So I've got to sort that out at some point today. I was planning to do it yesterday afternoon, but it got away from me. So I'm doing that today. So if anybody was in ConExpo, and they are also going to be at the pre-Samota event, if you see me wearing familiar clothes, try not to mention it because I'm you know, I'm living out of a suitcase at the moment. It's the best I could do. Saludos desde from Colombia. This morning. That is Nacho Reyes, all the way from Colombia. We're big in Brazil. We're big in Colombia. For reasons I don't fully understand, but good morning. Buenos dias, probably. Buenos dias, I think that's probably right. Gary says, will you be bumping into Marco Lorini when you're in Italy? Probably not this time. To the best of my knowledge, Lorini is not going to be at the pre-event, but bearing in mind the actual event itself, which is in May, is taking place probably about an hour away from his backyard. I'll be very, very surprised if he's not going to put an appearance. If he does, I shall be sure to catch up with him and give him your regards. Let's have a look. Peter says, I'm having lunch today with the director of the Road Haulage Association. Been a long time coming. We have been trying to meet for the last 6 months. Yeah, some things are just like that, aren't they? Just like that. Funnily enough, I had 3 real schedules or 3 scheduled meetings to take place over in Las Vegas, and I accomplished one of them. Couldn't get hold of one. Another one, we were in different ends of the show when we had some free time. And another one, I got a phone call to say, where are you? I said, I'm sat here having a cup of coffee in Dunkin' Donuts. He said, funnily enough, I'm here as well. So Dennis Wager, good morning to you from Rockbusters, all the way from Canada. Me too, Mark. Back to Plymouth to Tungsten again. Tungsten? Should I know what that is? I don't know if I should. Ken Hatcher, probably my my fellow jet lag sufferer. Morning, Ken. How are you doing, my friend? He's got the sunshine as well. Right, okay, let's crack on, shall we? It is Wednesday, the 11th of March. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming, the authentic yet very tired voice of the global demolition industry. In today's latest ConExpo-focused show, Develon unveils the new DX400, and it looks pretty damn smart, I have to say. Manitou's latest compact track loaders, Zoomlion put on an impressive display, and we'll be showing you around that. And we've compiled some. It says on my screen here some cool stuff from Las Vegas. It's cool shit is what it is. You'll be seeing that a bit later in the show. Plus, in today's edition of Mark's Morning Monologue, Leaving Las Vegas. Not the Nicolas Cage film, but Leaving Las Vegas. How equipment manufacturers are now saying the quiet part out loud. Hope that's enough mystery to keep you watching right until the end of the show when I will be bringing that for you. Dan, when he said tungsten, he's talking about the quarry where he was before Christmas. Good news, good news. Ken Hatcher says, I'm getting there a bit better today. Funnily enough, I thought I was getting there yesterday. Worse today. So there you are. And apparently it's the second biggest tungsten quarry in the world. Who knew? Who knew? Well, Dan did because he just told us. Let's have a bit of Caterpillar and then we're going to roll up our sleeves and get stuck into some Develon after this. Before we go any further, I want to say a very quick good morning to DFB, Demoliciones. I don't know what accent that is because I don't know where they are. They're hovering somewhere between Spanish and Italian. But DFB, Demoliciones are in the house over on Instagram. Good morning to you. Develon. It's, what is it now? Is it 3 years or is it 6 years? It must be 3 years since they changed their name from Doosan to Develon. They did that at ConExpo officially. This ConExpo, they rolled out something that was also new, the new DX400. Check out this beauty. Yeah, if the machine introducing it is half as good, if the machine is half as good as the video introducing it, I think that's going to be quite the tool. Ken Hatcher saying, Cat AI is on its way big time. Funnily enough, yeah, AI, or more specifically, the potential repercussions of AI, is the subject of today's morning monologue. So stick around for that if you possibly can. Did you ever hear anything back from John Woodward about the 5 super high T-shirts that he said he would send you as a giveaway? I didn't, is the answer to that. I know he had to get them made, and maybe there's a delay on that, but I am due to speak to John in the very near future. Got bits and pieces going on with the IDE at the moment. I'm going to be starting work on their new magazine as soon as I get back to get back from Italy, and I know John's part of that effort as well. So I shall remind him forthwith, if not sooner. Jim Turner says, might have got a better look if some fucker had bothered to put the lights on. Jim, where is your artistry? Where is your artistry? It's a bit like watching Fred at work. Yes, I know it looks good from when you're laying on your back, but nobody lays on their back to look at a skid steer loader. Get up, you pillock. It's the arty types. What can I tell you? What do we got next? Oh, yes, we're going off to Manitou next, but not Manitou as you would normally expect them. Back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
So, Manitou, to most of us, telehandlers, rough terrain forklifts, that's what we know them for. But obviously, they own Gel, that is part of the group, and they badge their own compact track loaders, and this is what they look like in the Las Vegas sunshine.
Hi, I'm Nathan Ryan, Global Product Manager for skid steers and compact track loaders with Manitou Group. We're here today in sunny Las Vegas for ConExpo 2026. Behind me is one of our 5 new large frame loaders. This one happens to be the biggest. It's our 3600 BT, powered by a 114 horsepower Deutz engine. The cab is all new, featuring polycarbonate side windows, polycarbonate front door, and the polycarbonate rear escape window as part of our Demolition package, which also includes a FOPS Level 2 bracket, heavier duty aux guarding, and a rear door with a bash guard and an electric winch controlled by a Bluetooth remote. Inside the cab, you'll find a 7-inch color display, an intuitive control keypad, which indicates which options are installed on the machine, and a smart throttle, which senses how fast the operator is turning the throttle and adjusts the engine RPM accordingly. You'll find several innovations on the machine: our sloped lift arm design, the hydraulic track tensioning system, which eliminates the need for daily maintenance of checking your track tension, and several other features on this machine. We're here all week. Come out and see us at the festival grounds and check these machines out yourself.
I don't know about you, Ken, but I'm missing that sunshine. Speaking of Ken, he says, my friend got back from Vegas yesterday and his Hilux had been stolen from the Copthorne Hotel. There really are some scummy bastards about, aren't there? Depriving a working man of his vehicle. Absolute disgrace. Gary Muirhead says, Jim, still looking forward to hearing about your review on the case that you're operating, pal. Yeah, when is that coming, Jim? I'll be looking out for that. Really looking out for it. If you can keep it under sort of the 3-minute mark, maybe, may even feature it on the show. It'd be nice to have a bit of outside input. And Andy Darvell is back in our midst with his usual welcome. He says, morning, 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 everyone. How are we? Working in Hanover Square, very posh, attending a rotary piling rig drilling down to 20 meters. Skipping concrete at the moment on my Senebogen 613 10-ton crawler. See, that's how you come back to a show. Full update. Where he is, what he's doing it with. As it's supposed to be. Ken is saying, I'm actually okay today. Wish I felt the same. I could literally close my eyes right now. Never had Manitou one for getting into the skid steer market. As I say, they own the Gel brand, which was one of the real pioneers of the skid steer world back in the 80s, the early 80s, I think. Gel came to the forefront, but were a real rival for Bobcat for quite a while. Now been swallowed up by the fine folks at Manitou. Andy, did that pump land? I don't know what that's about. There's probably a private conversation that's just gone public. I don't know what that's all about, but Andy, did the pump land? Let us know. We're intrigued now. Zoomlion coming up after a bit of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Mark Whiting has just landed on the platform. Good morning, Mark. How are you doing, my friend? Good to have you back in our midst. Ken Hatcher says he's... what does Ken Hatcher say? It's just flashed and gone away. Off to the doctor's Friday for a checkup as well. Well, good luck with that. I don't know what you're having checked, but I hope it's fully functioning. Yes, let's get rid of that. Good luck with that, Ken. Yes, Zoomlion. And say good morning to All Terrain Manx, by the way, who have just joined us over on Instagram. And Andy Darvell says, yes, it did, Dan. Day later, as he couldn't unload that day. To track concrete pump, Mark, came off Dan's job and he found out it was coming for me. Well, how about that? Talk about small world, concrete pumps going from one member of the audience to another. That's what we like to see. Right, okay, Zoomlion. Obviously, we're all familiar with Dugong and Sany and Sunward and XCMG. Well, fellow Chinese, Zoomlion. They were out in force in ConExpo, and this is how their stand looked. So that was Zoomlion. Gary question says, did you spot any JCB and equipment in Las Vegas? I did not. Not a single machine, as far as I remember. I can't say I was specifically looking, but not a single thing. Yeah, nothing at all. Weird. It may well have been there, maybe lurking in the background. I know they were there for their powertrain business. Engines and drive lines and that kind of thing, but I didn't come across that part of them either. They were probably in one of the halls that I didn't need to visit. But there you are. No JCB there at all. Mick Norton says, good morning. Good morning to you, Mick, and welcome back. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Dan has got proper coverage again. Now, Jim Turner says, I was stripping and stacking topsoil with it yesterday and digging a footing with it today. So I'll do my review after today's work. It won't be spoken video review. I'm not that settled in front of the camera microphone yet, although I did do a little YouTube video the other day after the D5 cab was delivered that had me yakking away about it. Yeah, listen. Some of the most popular video channels on YouTube and other platforms as well are faceless, completely faceless. If you can get over your fear of actually speaking into a microphone, I would suggest that would be a good idea. But don't need to have your boat race, as my dad would call it. You don't need to have your face on the screen at all. Just your voice would be enough. Now, what do we got? Did we do this? I don't think we did. Let's have a bit of this, and then I'll tell you exactly what I'm about to show you. Dan is looking forward to Jim's new film, and Andy Dalvell says, cool hat, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. This, I explained this yesterday, but this is the Korean version. I can't see this. Hang on a minute. Is it that way? Yeah, there we are. It is there. It's called Spanner. That's Spanner in Korean, apparently. It may well say soup or bollocks or something, but I'm fairly sure it says Spanner. We are actually giving away the English language version of this hat next week. Yeah, look out for that. Dan saying that's an idea. Thanks, Mark. A review while operating on video. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to be said for it. If you listen, some of the best channels in the construction equipment world, honestly, are set up a GoPro in the cab or outside the cab, or both, not simultaneously. You only need one. Bit of a microphone, and you can pick them up for next to nothing, and just chat away to your heart's content. No editing required. Just talk as you normally talk, like I do. No need for poshness or anything like that. You just chat away, and good to go. My clock has to go in front of the camera. If I reach 750 subscribers, it's a rule I set myself on 608 this morning. If anyone is watching out in the wider world of the internet and you're not following Jim Turner over on YouTube, go and do so, because I'd quite like to see his clock, his boat race over on YouTube. Dan Cullen saying, I might look for a microphone. Dan, if you need any help in that department, I will be happy to recommend. Now, ConExpo is big. It's not Balmer big, but it's big. So to get around it, you need a bit of structure. So we, myself and Fred, had a structure. We would go to certain stands at certain times on certain days because we were scheduled to be there. Between times, I did some structured walkarounds of, here's the Liebherr stand, or here's the Volvo stand, or here's a look around the West Hall, or whatever it might be. But between times, I decided to take myself off for a bit of a wander, just to look for what I called in my head some cool shit. I found some cool shit, and I'm about to show it to you. Let me press the button. ConExpo cool shit incoming. Here we go. Okay, if we're talking about cool stuff at ConExpo, really doesn't get much more cool than this. That right there is the Rogue X3 from Bobcat. Still a concept machine, obviously, but autonomous, all electric, and a dry system, no hydraulics whatsoever. Looks like something straight out of a science fiction movie. So the manufacturer Coyote, I'm not entirely sure. Their symbol is a wolf, or probably a coyote. And on the stand at ConExpo, they've actually produced a coyote made entirely from digger parts. Take a closer look. That's pretty cool, right? An all-steel coyote. So, Cat 730 ADT. We're all familiar with those, right? Maybe not this one. This is a massive, absolutely massive fuel and lube truck. Take you around the far side, show you the business end. There you go, fuel and lube truck, 30 tons of enclosed fuel and lube. Uh, 30 tons and 730 litres that holds, apparently. I don't know if that's good, bad or indifferent. Anyone wishing to follow Jim Turner can find him at Tractors-Plant-Machinery. All YouTube subscribers welcome. I would strongly recommend it. Listen, we are a close-knit community here, and some of our guys are doing some wonderful stuff. So yes, go and have a look. Dan Cullen, wonder what literage. As I say, I think it was 730. But I'm doing that completely off memory, so don't hold me to it. Dan, the Rogue X3, that's different. It certainly is, but that creaking would do my head in. Yeah, I don't. It was a bit creaky. But as I say, it's a concept machine, and it wasn't even being controlled. I think that was like a pre-programmed. So every once in a while, it would just raise the bucket, tip it, and lower it back down, and then it would go through the same routine again. So maybe it was 7,300. I don't know. As I say, doing completely from memory. I do remember the numbers 7 and 3, but I'm not entirely sure. Dan saying, or Andy Darvell saying, the Bobcat sounds like it could do with some grease on those new joints. Yeah, well, as you say, if it's rolled off the production line, there is a bit of tolerance there, isn't there? That is some truck. Yeah, imagine spending, I don't know how much, on a Cat 730 purely to cart your lube about. Don't get me started. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to, what do I do around about now? I know what I do. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. No show tomorrow, no show on Friday because I'll be in Italy. But I will be back on Monday, and all things being equal, so long as I've slept off my jet lag, we will actually have a complete week of shows. Imagine that. 5 shows in 5 days. It's been a while since I did that, so look out for that. Going to show regular updates of working on the Track Marshal 70 to get me in the comfort zone of speaking on camera. Fantastic idea. Fantastic idea. And I've got to be honest with you, Jim, what I would say is, I'm not an expert in this, but the first 100 odd live streams that I did were painful. I was very conscious of my voice. I was very conscious of my accent. I was very conscious of tripping over words and that kind of thing. But once you get past the initial hurdle and you realize that nobody really gives a shit, they're interested in what you say rather than how you say it. Once you get past that, it becomes second nature. I told you yesterday, I was on Las Vegas cable news while I was in at ConExpo, and somebody just said, could you go on TV? Yeah, not a problem at all. How long do you want? I could give you an hour. I can give you 30 seconds. Take your pick. Dan looks like he's on his way out the door. Have a great week, chaps, and enjoy your week. Thank you very much indeed. But yeah, let's roll this morning monologue thing, and I'll tell you the other side of my trip to Las Vegas. An estimated 160,000 construction equipment buyers, specialists, operators, and enthusiasts passed through the turnstiles of the Las Vegas Convention Center during the ConExpo exhibition last week. Some were there to do business or to seek out new innovations that might enhance their companies. Some attended to meet friends and contacts. Some were there purely to walk among the big iron. But some were there unknowingly to witness the slow, stealthy, and strategic eradication of the very jobs that brought them to Las Vegas in the first place. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, Vegas itself. When I attended ConExpo 2023, I stayed at the Luxor Hotel. The reception area of the hotel was manned by more than 20 staff, checking guests in and checking guests out. An army of cleaners worked around the clock to keep the hotel and its casino area spotlessly clean. To the rear of the hotel, a dedicated rideshare area was busy with Uber and Lyft taxis of every size, shape, and colour. The change this time around was notable. When I checked in this time, there were just 3 or 4 staff at reception. Check-in is now entrusted almost entirely to a bank of iPad-style tablet computers. While chambermaids still take care of the guest bedrooms, there's now a fleet of autonomous vacuum cleaners, each the size of a large dustbin, patrolling the public areas. I didn't see a human cleaner during the entirety of my stay. And while the Ubers and Lyfts are still busy ferrying people about the town, they've now been joined by a fleet of odd-looking Zoox driverless taxis that you order via a dedicated app. On the casino floor, many dealers and croupiers have been replaced by machines. It's now possible to play blackjack, poker, and craps without any human interaction whatsoever. Elsewhere on the famous Las Vegas Strip, I encountered 2 bars where cocktails are mixed and served by robots. And it's easy to see why. An average bartender on the Las Vegas Strip will earn around $15 per hour. and they generally work an 8-hour day with 3 shifts covering the 24-hour working day. A Las Vegas bar is spending $131,000 per year to have a bar manned 24/7 by a single person. The cost of a drink-serving robot is $115,000. That's a one-off cost, and that robot is expected to last 15 or more years without illness, holidays, or costly welfare. And interestingly, this switch to automation and autonomy hasn't had a negative impact upon employment. In 2023, when I was there last, employment within the Las Vegas hospitality and gaming industry had peaked around about 286,000 people. A year later, following the opening of the Sphere and the new Fontainebleau Hotel, that figure had grown to 296,000. And this year, despite the advent of automation and AI, the employment figure has risen again to around 302,000 people. So in the face of growing automation, why haven't the figures fallen? According to local reports, there are 3 main reasons why automation hasn't led to mass layoffs. First, high-end resorts on the Strip like the Wynn or the Encore actually market the human touch as a premium service. Secondly, the opening of massive new venues created thousands of roles which effectively mopped up the jobs lost to automation elsewhere. And thirdly, many roles aren't being deleted, they're just being redefined. A worker who used to check people in might now be a guest experience ambassador who roams the lobby, helping people use the technology. But while the total headcount is stable, certain specific roles are seeing a sharp decline. According to recent reports, accounting, data entry, and reservation agents are at the highest risk, with some estimates suggesting that up to 95% of those roles could be handled by AI by the end of this year. There's a noticeable shift towards electronic table games, and AI chatbots now handle roughly 80% of routine guest inquiries in major resorts. Against that background, economists have warned that Las Vegas is ground zero for automation displacement. While employment is high now, projections suggest that by 2035, as many as 92,000 direct jobs, almost a third of all current jobs, could be at risk. The eradication of jobs on the Las Vegas Strip is a direct result of the city's unrelenting focus on ruthless efficiency. It's an economic ecosystem built upon extracting maximum value from every aspect of its business. Is the demolition and construction industry really any different? At the Balmer before last, I distinctly recall a conversation with a senior executive who revealed that his company had already discussed the ethics of producing remotely controlled or fully automated machines that might ultimately result in job losses. In the space of roughly 6 years, the industry has apparently left from ethical concerns to a widespread acceptance that jobs will be the collateral damage in the industry's ongoing fight for ever greater efficiency. And this is not just as a result of artificial intelligence and automation. Manufacturers of quick couplers, for example, speak with pride about how their products allow several machines equipped with dedicated attachments to be replaced by a single machine with a set of interchangeable attachments. And if one or more machines is being replaced, one or more men or women are suffering the same fate. Remote stations now allow one person to manage and control 2 or 3 machines simultaneously. That's another 1 or 2 operators we may not need in the very near future. Telematics and machine diagnostics constantly communicate machine and component status to the machine owner and the local dealer. That may not replace fitters and engineers entirely, but the service visits of old are slowly becoming superfluous. And that doesn't even take into account the advent of autonomous equipment that effectively operates itself. Yes, they will likely be overseen by a human, but the absence of a cab on these machines points to a future in which the presence of humans will have been consigned to the pages of history. The equipment manufacturers are now saying the quiet part out loud. And what they're saying is that job losses are inevitable. As the masses filtered out of the ConExpo halls and headed for the exit, The departure of people and the growing silence felt less like the end of an event and more like a dress rehearsal. In the end, perhaps the most prophetic display wasn't machinery on the floor, but the sight of the people leaving it behind. There you are. I don't know if Ken is still in our midst, but I was genuinely astounded by the level of automation. As I said in that spiel, the Luxor Hotel is like a great curved reception area. I did actually put a WhatsApp video up showing you the sheer scale of it. And there used to be 20, 25, maybe even 30 receptionists checking people in, checking people out. This time around, there were 3. Everything else was on tablets. There is one person, a little Asian girl, going about the place, making sure you press the right buttons and everything else. But everything was automated. You sit at the slot machines on the casino floor, and this wasn't exclusive to the Luxor. I saw it elsewhere. And you've got these sensor guided kind of drone operated vacuum cleaners going about the place. The most remarkable thing, I think, was these Zoox 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 driverless taxis, kind of box shaped. They've got double opening doors in them, obviously no driver. You order them via an app. It arrives precisely where you want it. You get in, you can use the app to set the lighting in the cab. You can play your own music in the cab, and it will take you where you need to go. Doesn't go particularly far, but it goes far enough. Now, whether that has actually replaced other cab drivers or whether it is just added to the capacity, nobody seemed to be able to answer that. And I have checked, but yeah, fully automated. Bars where robots make your drinks. And I get the impression it's with Vegas, it's kind of a double whammy in some ways. Because obviously parts of America, particularly the White House part of America, has demonstrated its disdain for brown people quite clearly, with ICE agents roaming the place and deporting those that they don't like the look of. And frankly, that's how Vegas operates. I think virtually every taxi that I sat in had a Spanish language radio station playing. We were ordering lifts and Ubers, and they were all called Juan or Carlos or whatever it might be. So lots and lots of Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and that kind of thing. Are they moving out? Are they being deported? Are they feeling unwelcome and have decided to go back from whence they came? I don't know. But there's a huge amount of, and I think some of this was actually driven by COVID. Obviously, COVID. Well, Las Vegas took an absolutely huge hit during COVID. I won't bore you with the details, but we left in March 2020 after the ConExpo because ConExpo had been shut down because COVID had landed. We went home. Me and my wife went home, but my son Fred went on to Los Angeles, where he went out for dinner one night. He literally landed in Las Vegas. He went out for dinner at a diner, had a thoroughly pleasant meal, to the point where he thought, I'm going to go back there for breakfast tomorrow. So he went to his Airbnb, had a night's sleep, got up in the morning, walked down to the diner, and it was surrounded by the military because they'd locked the streets down. So he basically had to get himself back to Las Vegas. And when he got back to Las Vegas, bearing in mind the scale of the Luxor Hotel, 3,000 rooms or whatever it might be, there was him and 3 other people in the whole place. It was completely deserted. Now, obviously, Las Vegas, as a result of that, all of the hotels took a hit, and it took a hit over the period of best part of 2 years, probably. So they I think one thing they had an opportunity to reassess and look at their dependence upon people, but also I think they looked at the economies of scale, and purely the gaming industry is employing more than 250,000 people. If you can replace some of those, not necessarily all, chambermaids as it stands at the moment, I think you'd struggle to replace those with automation, but certainly, hoovering up about the place, you can do that. Can you get rid of croupiers and dealers? Yes, apparently you can. Can you get bartenders that are robots? Yes, you can. And you think about that, and think about the maths of that. To man, and we're talking about bars with one person. There is no such thing in Vegas. That they are 20, 30, 50 people manning a bar. But to keep a bar open 24/7 just with one person is about $130,000 per year, plus welfare, plus pension, plus. You can replace that person with a robot for $115,000, and that robot, by and large, will not cost you another dime. Yes, it will require some software updates probably along the way. It may need a bit of maintenance, but it won't be taking time off sick. It won't be phoning in with a hangover. It will be there day in, day out, working 24/7, 365 days a year. And the thing that triggered all of that in my mind was the fact that Las Vegas, when you spend any time in Las Vegas, you become very, very aware of the fact that the whole thing is geared to taking more money out of your pocket. Everything is designed to take money out of your pocket. From the casinos to the gaming tables to the hotels to the entertainment to the food to the drink to the everything, absolutely everything about Las Vegas is geared towards extracting your money, and to do so at the minimum possible cost. Demolition Construction operates that same business model. If the demolition industry and construction industry could do the work of 10 people with one person, thereby saving itself 9 wages, it would. And my fear now is that it will. We seem to have gone from just a few years ago, where we were concerned about workers being in danger. I think our bigger concern now, that's still a concern, but I think our bigger concern now is the fact that their jobs are in jeopardy. It's a fair point Dan raises. What about power cuts? How will the robots work? They won't. But frankly, if you have a power cut in Las Vegas, the people ain't working either. Bearing in mind, I mean, things like, a lot of the casinos, for example, are below ground level. That's another thing that Las Vegas is very good at. It puts all of its casinos either in the dark or below ground level, one way or another. So you have no concept of the time outside. You've no idea whether you've been playing for half an hour or 10 hours, because they want to keep you at the tables. They want to keep you at the slot machines to extract every bit of money they can. So if the power went out, the slot machines would stop working. The lights would go out, so you couldn't actually play the craps or the poker or the roulette. So it's not an argument. It's not an argument at all. Dan says, no way, that's unbelievable. And they complain about unemployment. Yeah. I do wonder about, nobody says this out loud. I know I referred to it as, somebody suggested that Las Vegas, because of its almost entire concentration on hospitality, it's been described as potentially ground zero for automation displacement, because there are so many jobs that can and could be automated in one way or another. But I also wonder if Las Vegas is being specifically targeted because of the people that it has working there. We've talked in ConExpos and Monexpos in the past about the fact that there are people living under the streets in storm drains in Las Vegas. A lot of those are ethnic minorities, so Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, others from Latin America, that have come over to take relatively low-paying jobs, although to them fairly high-paying jobs. They have access to tips, which boost their wages, and so on down the line. Given the current political climate in America, are they being targeted specifically? They're not. By and large, that part of the workforce is not unionized, so there is nobody to stand up and defend them should they be facing unemployment. I think some of them are probably there illegally, so they're not going to stand up and complain about the fact that a robot's taking their job, because if they put their head above the parapet, they could find themselves deported. So I wonder if that is contributing to it. But if you think about that in demolition and construction terms, if we achieved a similar level of automation and robotization, going back to Dan's point about working with Albanians and Romanians, maybe they might be the first to go home, but it wouldn't be the end of it. There would be more to come. I'm skewed towards humans because, contrary to popular belief, I am one of them. I don't want to see people losing their jobs, but when you actually sit down and do the maths, there's a lot to be said for automation. And I think also one of the things that they've mastered as well, I'll come back to your question in a second, Gary, and also to Andy Dalvell as well. One of the things that I think is interesting with the Las Vegas example is that they are currently selling automation and autonomy as a novelty. How novel to drive down the Las Vegas Strip without a driver. How novel to go to a cocktail bar where you tell the robot what you want and it makes your cocktail, pours it for you, and hands it to you. There was a place in, I think it was the Bellagio Hotel. Don't hold me to it because I can't remember. Walked around a lot of hotels while I was there. But there's a place there that does little cups made out of cookies, so biscuit to us, like a chocolate biscuit, but they put different types of milk. The Americans love their cookies and milk. That's it's a bit of an American thing. But you can order one of these cookie cups filled with the milk of your choice: regular milk, half and half, semi-skimmed, oat milk, almond milk. Lord alone knows what other milk, and it will be made up. Pour the milk in, pick it up, and delivered to you by a robot. There are no humans there at all. There are actual bars serving beers and cocktails that are actual robots, and all of those are very, very busy because, frankly, who wouldn't want to be served by a robot at least once in your life? Goes back a few years to the Yo Sushi chain. I'm sure it's still going, but the Yo Sushi chain, where you choose your food from a conveyor belt. The food, I quite like Yo Sushi food. I quite like sushi. Quite like Yo Sushi food, but I think part of the deal there was the fact that it was a novelty. Let's go and sit on some stools and wait for our food to go past, and we'll grab it, and at the end of it, we'll count up the number of plates we've eaten, and that will be our bill. There's a certain novelty to that. That novelty, I think, will likely be replicated when we finally start to see proper automation in the demolition and construction field. I think we've been kept remote from it up until now. We know there are autonomous dump trucks working in Australia and parts of Africa and parts of Australia, but they tend to be working in mines and quarries miles from anywhere. Nobody gets to see them. I think the day that somebody decides we're actually going to build a row of houses using a robot, or we're going to dig the foundations using a robot, I think people will be stopping to look. And I think the first people to do that can expect visits from their competition, from friends and family, and Lord alone knows how many other people, because of the sheer novelty of it. And that novelty, I think, masks the truth of what's going on. The fact that people are slowly being eradicated from the workforce. I'll come back to that point in just a moment. Gary says, "Is Las Vegas being used as a test case for an AI future?" Yes. It's it's the perfect place to do it. As I say, with the lack of unionization of part of the workforce, nobody's going to stand up for them. I think the very nature of some of the work that is going on there is quite repetitive. So you imagine that a casino floor in one of these vast mega hotels in Las Vegas. Yes, you could employ a team of 10, 20, 40 Mexican migrants to walk around with hoovers, or you could just invest in these things. And these things are literally going up and down all day. And when they're finished, they take themselves off. They deposit whatever they've picked up. They put themselves back on charge, and an hour or two later, they go back to work. And they are going up and down and up and down all of the time. It's the perfect place to do it. But there are certain jobs within demolition, more specifically, I think construction, where the same rules apply, where repetitive work could be replaced by people, by robots rather. People have to lose their jobs. Nothing new. Been happening since the wheel was invented. It's also to do with debt. Buying a robot will put a business in debt. Employing a worker doesn't. The civilized world runs on a debt and inflation-based system. Without it, the whole charade crumbles. You're right, and I think it's an important point. I mean, you said the invention of the wheel. I'd probably bring it forward a little bit from there and say, the Industrial Revolution, when we started to mechanize things, mechanizing printing presses and textile mills and things like that. There will have been huge job losses then, and I lived through the late 70s and the early 80s when our rapidly declining car manufacturing industry switched from people to robots in an attempt to sort of keep themselves afloat. As it turns out, the thing that was dragging them down in many cases was the fact that their cars were shit, not the people putting them together. But that's a whole other story. So yes, there has been an erosion over the years of employment, no question about it. But I do think that the arrival of robots, of automation, and of AI, for one thing, I think accelerates that like we've never seen before. And I also think there is only one outcome likely now. I mentioned the term yesterday, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And I think the same with the switch to AI and autonomy and robots. I think once a casino or a hotel or a construction site has made the switch from humans to machines, they will not go back. I think once they get a feel for how efficient, how cost effective machines are compared to people, there will be no coming back. I do think it's an employment end game. Not universally, not every job will be affected, and that's why I hesitated when I was saying about demolition and construction. Demolition, I think, is at the moment probably too variable. The actual demolition itself is probably too variable in nature to allow it to be properly automated. But if you think about digging the footings for a house, particularly if you've got a housing development and you've got 20, 30, 100 houses all exactly the same, send a machine in, do that. It will not have a hangover at any time. It won't abuse drugs. It won't require holiday. It won't take sick time. It won't require a pension, and so on down the line. I think once the construction world gets a feel for that, there will be no coming back. Dan says, look at tier ones. They don't allow machines older than 5 years on site, so you have to accumulate more debt. Yeah, absolutely. To keep in with tier one contractors. Yeah, the tier one contractors. I mean, I talk about tier one contractors with a fair degree of disdain. Majority of the time is over their refusal to pay their bills on time, but they do shape the industry, which is kind of a weird situation in this country. It's almost like apartheid era South Africa. The SMEs in this industry outnumber and outweigh those big tier ones 1,000 to 1. You know, there are many more SMEs in this business than there are tier ones. But the tier ones say jump, and the entire industry just asks how high, and we follow their tune. So when you look at it, you know, that they are one of the drivers of the competence card scheme. They insist on competence cards. The entire industry fell in line. They insist upon certain environmental regulations. The entire industry falls in line, and so it goes on. Jim Turner says it happens in all walks of life, and there's also a manufactured effort to encourage thicker people to be the ones to breed. It's a dumbing down of the civilized world. It's all linked and so simple to see. Yeah, listen, I can see where you're coming from. Personally, I think there's a hint of the conspiracy theory in there, but yeah, who will pay the price for the mass unemployment that will likely follow a switch to autonomy? It won't be the executives. It won't be Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. It won't be any of those. It'll be working men and women, the people with dirt under their fingernails. That's who will pay the price. So going back to Jim's point, as I say, while I don't necessarily agree with the whole dumbing down of the civilized world and, you know, the workers within it will be the ones that pay the price for that acceptance of automation. I realise this is a matter of semantics and language, but I do find it quite surprising. I was speaking to a manufacturer of quick couplers while I was in Las Vegas. I'm a fan of quick couplers. I think they're a fantastic tool. I think they've revolutionized the demolition industry. They really have. The likes of Oil Quick and Lenhoff and Steel Wrist and people like that. I think they've absolutely revolutionized the business. But in so doing, they've actually opened the way to job losses. I've been on demolition sites now recently where in the past you'd have had 2, 3, maybe if you had space, you maybe even had 4 machines. You'd have one cutting and crunching, you'd have another one with a grab picking stuff up, you'd have another one processing steel. If you set yourself up properly, if you've got the right attachments and you've got a decent quick coupler like an Oil Quick or a Steel Wrist, one machine will be enough. Particularly if you're working in a city, tight, limited space, one machine will be enough. And if it's one machine, that means one man. Doesn't mean 2 operators or 3 or 4 or more. It means one. Now, yes, you could argue that will free up those other 2, 3 or 4 operators to go and do a job elsewhere. And yes, in some cases, it will. But that's also assuming the fact that the demolition contractor has enough work to have one man, one machine, and multiple attachments on 4, 5, 6, a dozen jobs. And that is certainly not the case in many instances. Hang on a minute, what we got here? Dan says, problem is we'll have to accept it one way or another. Have a great week, Mark, and weekend, guys. Safe travels to you and friends. Thank you very much indeed for that, Dan. Yeah, let's call it a day, shall we? There was one other comment that I wanted to go back to. Yeah, this one very, very quickly. Jim says, I hate my voice, but don't mind my accent. I'll give it my best shot. Listen, Jim, as I say, you know, when you look at the way that YouTube operates, if I could offer anyone, not that I'm a guru in these things, but if I could offer anyone some advice on starting a YouTube channel, an Instagram channel, a TikTok channel, whatever it might be authentic. People appreciate authentic. There's no point trying to posh yourself up, because sooner or later the mask will slip. It'll become a pain in the ass to be performing every day. You know, I tried first couple of shows. I was trying my very best to speak properly, like my mother taught me to. But that's not how I sound. I'm from South London. I've got a South London accent. Fuck all I can do about it. Roll with it. And nobody seems to mind. With mass AI, earning potential will become obsolete. So invest in something AI can't infiltrate. I've already done it, thank God. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But one of the things that I do find surprising is just how quickly that has all changed. I've been thinking about that. I was at the Institute of Demolition Engineers event just before I went to Vegas. A few years ago, if you went to an IDE event, there'd be a demolition contractor would stand up and say, I did this complex job, aren't I clever? And then an attachment manufacturer would stand up and say, we provide these various these various attachments, aren't we clever? And that was by and large the sum of it. We've done a job, we're clever. We built a thing, we're clever. That was by and large the whole sum of it. Recently, I've sat through IDE presentations on AI, on automation, on mental health. The whole landscape has changed. The whole landscape has changed, and not just changed; it's become accepted. You know, we now accept the fact that we live in a world where AI and autonomy are a real and present benefit and a real and present danger. Gary says, "Can you give some advice on how to start an OnlyFans account, Mark?" I wish I could. But my OnlyFans account has been remarkably unsuccessful. Turns out, you know, people are quite happy to listen to me talk about diggers for hours on end. Nobody wants to see me knob. I don't have an OnlyFans account, just to be absolutely clear. But Gary, should I ever start one, I promise you'll be the first to know. And maybe that's what Jim was talking about. Invest in something AI can't infiltrate. Nobody could infiltrate Gary Muirhead's OnlyFans account. Probably. Listen, maybe somebody could. People, that's me done for this week. I'm off to pack my bags for Verona. I will give you all an update when I get back. And there's Dan saying, take care, lads. Yeah, take care, lads. All of you, take care. I'll be back on Monday. Between now and then, if you happen upon a robot near your place of work, push it under a bus because it might be after your job. See you soon.